staff and members of the public watching at home, and Murray, who's joining us in Teams. Call for apologies. Everyone is here, so we have none. Extraordinary business? No. Declarations of interest? None. Okay. Confirmation of the minutes of our last meeting. Page 3, 4. Councillor Cameron.
I'll move that the minutes are true and accurate record.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please say aye. Carried. Thank you. Okay, next item is the Bancourt Treasury Report, and Erin's going to come forward. Just like to welcome Tanya to our table up here for her. Is it your first time up here? So yeah, so welcome. Okay, you hand over to you, Erin, and you can.
So this is the first quarterly report from Bancourt for the 24-25 year, and it shows that ADC is compliant at this stage, and also that the weighted average cost of capital is down to 4.4% from 4.84% in the prior quarter.
Cool. So does anyone have any questions? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you for that, Erin. What is the projection in terms of interest rates and the cost of capital going forward for the next 10 years?
So I'm unsure at this stage what that would be for 10 years, but we do have a projection that it could fall to 3.71 by June 25 for council.
June
for our
25,
weighted,
so that's next year.
For our weighted average cost of capital, yes, that's correct.
Hamish? Oh, sorry.
No.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow that that answer, we are now looking at that number, 3.71, as being a reasonable number for council to reflect in the annual plan for our cost of capital. So that's work has commenced for preparation of the draft annual plan.
Yep. Thank you for that. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just following up on that question, what number did we use for a long-term plan in year 2 of the long-term plan for interest rate?
I'll have to look back and get back to you on that one.
I think it's about 8% lower, which, yeah, adding those numbers up, and they'd be rough if I've done them in my head, but it's about 2% of rates, I think. It's about $1 million on a $130 million loans. It's substantial now.
Hamish?
Yes, what we're trying to do is make an assessment of the anticipated cost of debt, but also on the other, potentially the other side, is we're also looking at our inflation assumptions as well. So there's certainly swings and roundabouts potentially in the way in which the year 2 of the LTP was prepared compared to the reality as we get closer to it. So that work is underway, and we'll have that discussion with council as we develop the annual plan.
Yeah, that'll be great to have that discussion, and if there's a $1 million saving, then it should be $1 million saving. Probably signalling that we're not going to spend any more money than what the long-term plan has said, because it's only 6 months old. When you're coming to do the annual plan, which you've started already, I suppose the signal we probably should send is there's not much more spending out there. Stick to the year 2 of the plan, unless there's good reasons to vary from it.
That's right. One of those might be our inflation assumption. So we think there might be some swings and roundabouts, but all of which we need to discuss with you, and we've got that information.
Any? Councillor Wilson.
I think in an hour's time we'll have a better idea of the next 6 months, because the Reserve Bank comes out with its interest rate reductions and their predictions through to into next year. So we'll know more after in an hour's time, effectively.
Thank you. Any further questions?
One quick
Yes.
one. The Bancourt report, is not something we pay for. It's given as a business with them, isn't it? It's part of the package, is that right?
It's part of our contract with Bancorp that they provide a quarterly report for us.
Thank you. There's a recommendation there. Councillor Cameron, you moving?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you. Councillor McMillan?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Civic Financial Services, page 17. You again here?
So this is the half-yearly report from Civic Financial Services to the 30th of June 24.
Is there any questions or anything else you'd like to add?
Since this paper was written, there was a webinar with about Risk Pool, which is a Civic Financial Services insurance scheme that they're winding up at the moment, or trying to wind up. They're currently going through an exercise to venture into a reinsurance exercise to try and mitigate the burden on the members, so members being councils that are members of the scheme. And there's an expected letter outlining any funds requirements and the reason for these funds by the end of the calendar year. They're waiting on the outcome of a reinsurance exercise which is being carried out with insurers in London at the moment. So it hasn't been turned down, it's just they are waiting to find out what their answer is.
Thank you. Any questions at all? Murray?
Just a question on membership of Civic. We are members, some councils are not members. Have we thought through why we are versus why we are not in any cycle of just making that conscious decision of being a member versus not? And the advantages and disadvantages, I suppose, given that some are and some aren't.
Yep. Thank you.
Through the chair, no, we haven't, but we're happy to review and have a look into it. I just would note that our LAP insurance is through Civic, so that's good. It's quite a wider conversation for council to have.
No, I get that. I was just raising the issue that some are in and some are out, and I don't know the detail, but that would be good just to think through. Is this the best deal and why we're in, and if so, what others are doing if they're not in, and why? That's all.
So, through the chair, one of the things that the finance team and business support are doing is doing a review of council's insurance in this financial year, so that can form part of that review.
That'd be
Perfect,
great.
thank you.
Hamish? Because I think they came and spoke to us,
Yes.
earlier this year?
Yes, I was just,
Yes.
so the question and the answer has closed that general matter off, and in my mind we'll do that work. But in relation to products or risk pool in particular, we had Charlie Howe here talking about risk pool because council was concerned about the tail of liability following the Napier City court case, and it was very clear, and council was motivated to say, well, why don't we, get out of risk pool? And it's very clear that you can't get out of the liability that's already been incurred by products like risk pool. But the broader question that Murray's asking, I think Tanya's answered well enough. We'll do that work.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, there's a recommendation, page 17. I'm happy to move. Councillor Brahm seconding. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Right. What page are we next, Carol? Page 24, EA Networks. Richard. Oh, there he is. Anything further to add?
Good afternoon. No, nothing further to add. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Thanks, Richard. Hey, all of just looking at this very small spreadsheet that I need super strong spectacles to look at, Is there anything there that you are disappointed in or feel is not tracking in the right way, or have you noticed any anomalies that you can identify?
Through the chair, the one that's possibly standing out to us is the budgeting around memberships.
Yes.
We've done a cross-check on that, and our budget and our income around memberships is exactly what we expect, but obviously there's an imbalance the way that we've budgeted that, so we're looking at that with the budgeting process for the new year. The only other thing that stands out there that we've highlighted before is the overspend in LPG costs at the moment that was due to a late bill that came in that we can't move out of this financial year.
Okay. So you'd so with the change in the can I ask an additional question?
No.
With the change in the membership structure, going wet to dry essentially, has that had any impact on your membership numbers, or is it too early to tell? Or
Through the chair, the early stage indication is no, it hasn't had any detrimental effect. The income is as we would expect, as is the membership number at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? No. Once again, recommendation there, page 24.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Seconded, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 26, the adopted annual report, which you've all had sent as another attachment. Yes. Welcome, ladies. Anything further you'd like to add before you take questions? Oh, that's no. Okay, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. When I look at the first page, our district, page 11, we always talk about our roads in this council and how we need to maintain our roads and spend more on our roads and get rid of the potholes and have our best roads ever. But I can't see any reference to roading. I can see water pipes and wastewater and stormwater and stop water, but no roading on the district summary. Like we've sort of grown up hearing 1,100 kilometres of unsealed road and 1,500 is sealed. Or
through Mr. Chairman, I see a number 2691 kilometres of roads.
oh, that might be on the next page then, is it?
Page 11.
Oh, I can't see that.
1525 kilometres of sealed and
I can see
1166 kilometres of
6190
unsealed.
kilometres area of our district, 442 hectares, 271 hectares, 30 neighbourhood playgrounds, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing.
The very next thing down talks about roads.
It's actually page 12 on our Stella.
Our strategic direction.
Yeah.
Where's that? Can't see
No,
that.
I think you are on the same page, 11 of the report, which is 12 of Stella.
Yes.
As soon as you get to your 30 neighbourhood playgrounds, the very next thing we say is how many roads we've got.
Well, I'm going to have to stand up and go to see the chief executive and people point it out. I can't see it at all.
I'll do a deal. I'll come in to you.
Oh, good man, thank you. Oh, for goodness sakes. There, it's there. Oh, it doesn't warrant strong. How much is it, for Erin, please, how much is a proportion of our OPEX do we spend on our roads, please? Would be significant, I'm imagining. And it doesn't say what we did to our roads.
So when you say we spend, is that
The district
the
council.
council invest, or in total with what we get from
Well, either or.
NZTA as well?
Either or. As a proportion, I would have thought it would be significant, and we'd say we have sealed, or we have fixed 552 potholes and sealed 900 kilometres of road, or whatever. Ambitious target, I know. And it's just got a little faded out stuff.
Through the chair, look, we can relook at the design and layout for the next annual report, but in the actual transportation chapter, if you want to speak of that in the annual report, that's where we do go into a little bit more detail of the length of road that we've resealed and the volume of gravel we've put on, as well as potholes.
The annual report is a masterly piece of information, tremendous feat of work, essentially. And a lot of people don't plough through the annual report, they just go to the front page, or the front, I hate to say it, Tony, I'm sure none of us here do that, but it would be nice to have a bit more of a highlight of what we've actually achieved with regards to that and maintained. Or, yeah.
Noted.
Thank you.
Tanya.
I just make, through the chair, just make the comment that from page 57 of Stella, there is some of those stats that you are talking about in the transportation chapter.
Hamish? No. Any further questions, Councillor Wilson?
I'd just like to note that it is an unqualified report, and so could you perhaps just give us a quick what that means, because most people will see that and won't understand what that means compared to a qualified report, because it's quite a feat as it was to be in that position.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm just conscious. This is Tony, the layman's explanation of what unqualified means. It means that the information that we've compiled and the data that sits in the back of that has been robust, and that audit didn't find that there were issues with that information. Council has a pretty good reputation and history of producing unqualified, and the latest terminology is unmodified annual reports. And from my memory, we've only had one LTP that's received a qualification in the past. So.
Thank you. No more questions? Councillor Cameron?
Note 9, depreciation and amortisation, and we depreciate fixtures and fittings from 4% to 25%, or buildings from 1%. So is this building being depreciated at 1% and funded depreciation?
So it has been depreciated at 1%. No, 2%. I think we'll find 2% for this building. Just trying to think. Yeah, 2%. Depreciation wise, has been funded in this instance.
So when you say 2% for this building, I think here there's some items that we've separate, like air conditioning and various items that are separated out from the building too, isn't there?
Yes, that's correct. So through the chair, what happens is basically if you pick the building up and shook it, all the parts that fell out, like any office equipment, all that kind of thing, is separate in a separate category. So they've got different depreciation rates depending on what they are.
Thank you, because the lifespan of a lot of those fixtures is different to the building itself. So, yeah. Mr. Mayor.
A couple of questions. One is, when will this report be in hard form? When will it be printed? We signed it off on the 3rd of October, or just about. When will it be hard form?
Thank you. It's just finished being designed or graphically laid out, and then it will be off to print this week. So hopefully, within the next fortnight, you'll have a copy on your desk.
Right. The other question, if I wanted to see how property was performing, we have a lot of property. And lots makes up property, buildings, assets, and we have other property which we derive income from, and we spend dollars on looking after that income. Is there a way that we can get a return on the investment we have of X dollars? We know what we have in property. What sort of return do we get on that property? Do we know that?
That would be a separate discussion, looking through from the property perspective.
Because property can be quite blurred when you build a new building, you borrow money for that and it goes on it, that's perfectly fine. And then you have other leases and licenses, or leases really, which are investment properties. So it must be somewhere simple. What return are we getting from those investments? That's the question I'll probably ask.
Through Mr. Chair, yes, let's have a look at that. One of the things that we might need to think carefully about and come back to you on clarifying is the range of property assets that the council actually has. Some of which I'm thinking reserves and community halls and a whole host of property that isn't expected to get a commercial return. So we just have to be really clear whether we're trying to judge the return on investment on those where we're expecting to get a more market-rated investment, or whether it's on the whole property portfolio, which would be a different outcome to that exercise.
Yeah, I think we have two types of property. One is like this building and the EA Network Centre, which will never make a return on investment. They're just an investment that we have that costs us money to run it. But then we have other properties. We have some land we own. We've got sections, other bits and pieces where they are our investments. And are they a good investment? forestry's one of those investments we have. Yeah, we just need to cast an eye over to see that they are a good investment, I suppose you'd say.
So in that, there'll be some Glasgow lease land, there'll be shingle pits that may have been filled in that are only leased for $1 maybe to the adjoining landowner and those sorts of things.
Yeah, again, we need to define which is investment property and which is just property we hold because we have to. But domains will never make any money.
No.
But we do have investments out there.
Yeah, and there is part of property coming to us in a report shortly.
Yeah, that's the sort of property.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Once again, a recommendation there, councillors. Page 26. Councillor McMillan, you're
Thank
moving.
you, I'm happy to
Councillor
move.
Cameron seconding. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. At the end, is it? Yes. That brings us to the end of our open part of the meeting. Would someone like to move, please? We go into committee. Councillor Cameron. Councillor McMillan. All those in favour? Carried, thank you.